Welcome to this explainer. At the heart of almost every single deal we make, there's this really fascinating tension. It's like a tightrope walk. On one side, we want to set these sky-high, ambitious goals, but on the other side, we desperately need to preserve the long-term relationships that are absolutely crucial for our lasting success. We all want to win, right? But the real question is, at what cost?
Okay, let's dive right into this. Imagine for a second that you're a freelance marketing consultant. You're sitting down, hammering out the details of a major, long-term assignment with a brand new client. And you decide, you know what? I'm going for it. You set an incredibly challenging goal and demand a premium rate. At first, the project manager balks. There's some pushback. But eventually, boom, you get your price. You won the negotiation, right? Well, fast forward just a few weeks, that same project manager is now hostile, they're resisting all your expert advice, and ultimately, they fire you prematurely, saying the relationship just wasn't a good fit. Sure, you got the good deal on paper, but you completely lost the client. So is it really worth risking a relationship for a good deal? For decades, the standard textbook advice in negotiation has been pretty simple. Always aim as high as possible. The myth tells us that aiming high equals total success. But the reality? The hidden reality, according to some really eye-opening recent research, is that extreme ambition can actually trigger a severe backlash. It's like a slingshot. You might win the battle over the price today, but you end up sparking this deep resentment from the other party that literally costs you the entire partnership tomorrow.
Section 1. The Ambition Paradox, or the hidden cost of winning. Now, let's be fair to the myth for a second, because science does show that setting specific, challenging goals actually works in the short term. It gets you working harder, and it definitely puts more money in your pocket initially. But here is where the paradox kicks in. Despite those immediate financial wins, high aspirations trigger what's called an anticipated backlash effect. A fascinating study by researchers Lai, Hannah Riley Bowles, and Linda Babcock found that the exact same ambition that secures you a great deal can simultaneously destroy the foundation of trust and likability that you absolutely need to actually execute that deal over the long haul. Let's look at Section 2, the backlash effect, explored through the motorcycle headlight experiment.
To really understand how this backlash works, a research team out of Harvard set up a simulated negotiation. They paired off students as buyers and sellers of motorcycle headlights. Now, some of the buyers were secretly pulled aside and encouraged to aim for a really high, aggressive target price, while others were told to adopt a much more modest goal. And sure enough, the buyers who set those high aspirations claimed the lion's share of the value. They negotiated significantly better prices for themselves. Classic win, right? But the researchers weren't done yet.
Section 3. The Science of Resentment and the $10 Allocation Task.
Now, what's really interesting here is the twist they introduced after the deal was done. Post-negotiation, the sellers were handed $10 and asked to allocate a portion of it to the buyer they had just dealt with. It was a secret test to see how they truly felt about their counterparts. And wow, the results are stark. Sellers universally found the high-aiming buyers to be far less likable. In fact, a massive 41% of the sellers who dealt with high-aiming buyers punished them by giving them absolutely $0 from that $10 pool. Nothing. Only a tiny 8% offered a fair 50-50 split. Now compare that to the low-aiming buyers. A much healthier 36% of those sellers happily shared the money right down the middle. You can really see the resentment here. The big takeaway is profound. Aiming too high works so well at the negotiation table that your counterparts might actually deeply resent your success. They'll find you unlikable, they'll drag their feet on future work, and as we just saw, they will behave entirely selfishly towards you the very first chance they get.
Which brings us to Section 4, Protecting Relationships, the Antidote to Anxiety.
Look, it's completely natural if hearing all this data makes you a bit nervous. In fact, research by Alison Woodbrooks points out that this exact fear, the fear of burning bridges, is why negotiations cause us so much anxiety in the first place. We're terrified of alienating the other person. So the crucial point is, you do not have to choose between getting a good deal and keeping a good partner. You don't have to abandon your high goals. You simply need a strategic approach to consciously manage the other party's satisfaction. You need to focus on how to balance ambitious goals and maintain healthy long-term relationships simultaneously.
Moving to Section 5, Tactics for Success, featuring 3 science-backed strategies.
So, how exactly do we pull off this balancing act? Well, we've pulled 3 specific science-backed strategies straight from the researchers to help you secure that ambitious deal while keeping the other side smiling and cooperative. They are: manage wins and losses, delay your acceptance, and hide your glee. Let's start with the first tactic, which is anchored by a really brilliant insight from Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman and his partner Amos Tversky. They figured out that human beings vastly prefer to experience several small wins rather than just one big one. But interestingly, we show the exact opposite preference when it comes to losses. So in a negotiation, this means you should absolutely make your concessions in stages. Drip feed the good news and issue your rewards piece by piece, so the other person feels this continuous, exciting sense of victory. But if you have to deliver bad news or take a hard line, just rip the Band-Aid off. Convey it in one big chunk to get it over with.
Let's move to Tactic 2 and see how this builds on that psychology of satisfaction. Based on research by Adam D. Galinsky, the advice here is to delay your acceptance to prevent counterpart regret. Picture this. You throw out a really high ambitious price, and the other person just immediately says, yes, done. What's your first thought? It's probably, oh man, I totally should have asked for more. Well, guess what? Your counterpart feels the exact same way if you accept their offer too quickly. So prolong the negotiation just a little bit. Ask a few clarifying questions. That slight delay prevents that toxic buyer's remorse and makes them feel like they worked hard for the agreement, even if they were secretly ready to sign on minute one.
And finally, the third tactic from researcher Jared R. Curhan, hide your glee. I know, when you finally lock in that incredible, highly ambitious deal, your first instinct is to do a victory dance, right? But exuberance breeds suspicion. If you look too satisfied, the other party is instantly going to assume that you outsmarted them and completely took advantage of them. To protect that vital long-term relationship, just keep your visible excitement to a minimum in the room. Let them feel like they drove a seriously hard bargain, even if you just achieved every single one of your wildest goals. Save the high fives for the car ride home.
Which leads us to the final provocative thought we want to leave you with today. In your next negotiation, are you going to focus only on the prize or on the partnership? As we've seen, setting high aspirations is a fantastic way to maximize your immediate outcomes. You should aim high. But aiming blindly without managing the relationship, that's just inviting a disastrous backlash. True success isn't just about what you claim today. It's about focusing on how to balance ambitious goals and maintain healthy long-term relationships so that your success continues tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, happy negotiating!